Okay, it's 2 minutes after 4, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the City of Meridian Solid Waste Advisory Commission. This is the regular meeting for Wednesday, October 26th. And we'll go ahead and kick things off with roll call. Please identify if you are present. James Leckie. Mark Nelson.
Here.
Megan Larson. Scott Walters.
Here.
Sean Keating. Here. Steve Corey. Here. Taryn Richmond. Here. Tom Oddie.
Here.
And ex officio member Rochelle Klein. Okay, quorum being present, we go ahead and move on to adoption of the agenda. The agenda was sent out by email. Are there any comments on the proposed agenda?
Mr. Chair, no comments, but I would make a move to approve the agenda as written. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as written. Are there further comments? Further comments? Sensing that the committee is ready for a... All those in favor of approving the agenda as written signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. We move on to the minutes from the September 28th meeting. Are there any comments on the draft minutes?
Mr. Chair, no comments, but again, I would move that the September 28th minutes be approved as written. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes from the September 28th meeting be approved as written. Are there further comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor of approving the draft minutes from the September 28th meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Next on our agenda is SWAC member updates. And the first item under that is the introduction of our new youth member, James Leckie. James comes from us from Kuna High School. And we're looking forward to his participation in our activities. James, do you want to go ahead and take a second to give an introduction of yourself?
Okay, hi. So I'm a junior at Kuna High School this year. I really got involved in local government through MIAC, Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. I've been on that for a few years, and that's how I heard about the commission. So I'm super excited to work with everyone this year.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. I'm going to wanted to mention a couple more things here for the members. Yesterday was the Ada County Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting, and things are rather busy up there. A couple of things I want to go ahead and mention. We had a little bit of discussion about some upcoming things that are going on with rate structure, the need to go ahead and, recommend to the county commission to recover convenience fees on credit card use, and also that there will be a need to go ahead and increase the cost of receiving tires if the tires are taken up to the landfill. A very spirited presentation on the changeover to using foam instead of soil on daily cover, as that will go ahead and give us many benefits, including extending the life of the landfill. One thing I really want to highlight is that I think we mentioned before that they're building an education center up there at the landfill, and they're going to establish, as an auxiliary to that, a nonprofit advisory committee that would be in a position to receive donations from the community, since that becomes a little difficult with a government entity. And the request was made for anyone who may want to either be on that board or just be aware of the activities of what's going on up there. And the county asks that if you have an interest on being on that advisory board, to contact Rebecca Weeks. And I bet, Tom, you probably know the phone number for Rebecca off the top of your head.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'd actually prefer email responses just so we can have a record of the responses. But her email address is rweeks, just like the time period of a week, at adacounty.id.gov.
Thank you. And just as a final thing from that, I was asked to resume the position of chair for the Ada County Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and I'm happy to go ahead and do that, but we have a little bit better avenue for bringing up items for the agenda for their consideration at this point. So at any time you want to add that thought that you want something to be talked about by the county, after we've talked about it from the city, please mention it to me, and we'll follow through on that. Second off, I want to go ahead and defer to Mark Nelson over here to kind of talk about the Recycle a Bicycle thing, if there's any the current status of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of where we're at now, of course, the weather is kind of turning on us, but we made some good progress the last month or so. We got quite a few bikes ready to donate. We have a new bike mechanic, Adam Jackson, that's 3 times faster at fixing bikes than me, and 5 times faster, I'm hearing from Commissioner Walters. But yeah, what a great asset to the group. And I guess where we're at now is we need to kind of get a few donated. I haven't talked to Rochelle lately, but connect with her and eventually get a few dozen of those bikes out of our queue and off to people that can use them. So I'll follow up with Rochelle here and see what we can do. We talked about last month that, or a few weeks ago, that we were collecting up all the tools that were kind of misplaced or scattered over the chaos of the summer, and we found most of those. I'm missing 1 or 2 items, and I forgot to order a couple of things. But we have a pretty good collection of tools for those that come out and help. And I'll be out of town next week, so maybe the following week we'll, I don't know if we need volunteers right now anytime soon. We'll just have to watch the weather now and then see if we can make some space by donating a few. Any other questions on that? Comments?
Chair, I have a question. Will you just send out an email to let when you're ready to resume going out there and working on bikes?
Yes.
Is that your plan?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And then one last thing, please, after we adjourn the meeting, please stay here for a moment. We're going to take an annual photo of all of us. I assume probably, well, we'll figure that all out once but don't rush out of the room. We've got a photo to take. And with that, we'll move on to staff program reports. The first item under staff program reports is a quarterly tonnage report. Sarah?
So here's July and September 2022. And after that, I'll take questions, and then we, on this same PowerPoint, I have information about the Squishy Water Bottle Program. So our population is increasing. you'll see every quarter that the total population has stayed the same since Compass doesn't do it each month. But we do get really good information from Republic Services on the single-family house increases. So right now, at the end of September, it was 40,388 households. And oddly enough, and I couldn't tell you why, but for this month, actually, trash tonnage has gone down. Looks like this year is a little bit lower than last year. We might be still dealing with pandemic issues, but that's a little good to see. And then just looking more specific at households, pounds per households, it's kind of the same. September looks the same. August went down a little bit, and so did July of the previous years. And then moving on to recycling. Recycling has gone down, unfortunately, but that makes sense. If total material goes down, recycling is going to go down also. But we were a little good in August of this year. And then this kind of helps, I guess, kind of better understand the numbers when you do it per pounds per household. We're looking about, for the last 3 months, 21 to 25 pounds. We're still around 9% total diversion rate. So that's still kind of low, but we're not going down. We're stable at 9%. And then grass seems to be increasing and maintaining, so that's good. So we ended September at 669 subscriptions. Definitely a lot more than 2020. And glass has always fluctuated, especially because there's the option at the transfer station. So we ended September at 180. And is there any questions on any of the numbers? Okay, I'll move on to the squishy water bottle. So this is just looking at, I know you guys are in our new business, we'll talk more about it, but here's just to give you the numbers. So when you talk about it, you kind of have a reference point. Just comparing FYI, so October to November, end of November, September, fiscal year 21 and 22. We had about this, we had 5 hauls each time. And then when it says in red to MTS, that's the transfer station, that means it was dumped as trash. So this year we definitely did better. It was only the last haul in August, and it looks like the guys already knew it was mostly trash because it was only 0.08 tons, and they went ahead and just tipped it. But other than that, it was clean, pretty clean. And sorry, my Zoom is covering up my screen. So we ended, last year was 0.89 tons, but some of the 2 months were trash. However, and then this year we ended at a little, 0.6, tons. And it cost last year, and each year it's going to go, the rate's going to go up a little bit. $1,243. This year it was $1,291. Does anybody have any questions on these numbers?
So, Sierra, should we then, I guess I could do the math on this thing, but like for this year, we say we've got 0.69 tons, but 0.08 went to the MTS.
So,
Does that mean that .61 was sent to the,
yes,
Okay.
the MRF, yeah.
so I see kind of coincidentally, that would have been .61 last year too, so it seems to be pretty steady.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think the signs helped out a lot, because wasn't it, we didn't have, when did we get the signs? Was it in December of 2020? Sounds right? Okay. But the first haul, there was no signs. That's why it was dumped as trash. So then after the signs, and I think that helped.
Mr. Chair.
What'd you say? Okay. Oh, that the signs, Conrad from Public Services was thinking spring of 21, we got the signs in. After that, it definitely got a lot cleaner.
Members of the commission, any questions on the squishy water bottle project?
I have a question. Can you estimate the number of squishy bottles that are in a ton?
I could, but I haven't.
I think that would be an important number to share back to the public. We removed 50,000 X amount or something like that, as opposed to tons, which is, easier to work with, but
Yeah, I think I would have to figure out how much this a bottle weighs and get a ton. But yeah, I could probably do the math, figure that out.
might be
Kinda
interesting.
Yeah,
Part of the public outreach.
yeah. Any other math questions or projects? Yeah, thanks.
So I believe we can move on to the leaf recycling program update.
It's just a quick update. Due to construction at Discovery Park, we're not having a leaf box there, so it's just 8 parks instead of 9. So the website's already been updated, flyers have been updated, Rake Up Meridian, folks know, and there is a sign, hopefully it's not damaged by rain, I'll look on that on Monday, out there saying due to construction. So hopefully the public will get the message. And we have QR codes on each of the sandwich boards, so you can click on it and then scan and find where there's other parks or the transfer station to drop off.
Any questions about the leaf recycling program as it stands right now, or?
I will say that thanks a lot, Republic, for getting more magnets. They look great. And yeah, so we were really able to label all the boxes. So hopefully people will be, each corner will be really clear to see what it looks like. So Rochelle was really instrumental in developing those magnets and getting them out to everybody. So thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Oddie?
not to get too far up topic, but .61 tons would be 23,180 20-ounce water bottles.
That's why we have you on this commission, is you're able to give those kind of details.
Thanks.
23,180.
Additional items on the staff reports? Any questions, comments?
I just have a comment as far as the leaf. I moved into a brand-new neighborhood, now it's a mature neighborhood, and seems like the program's evolved with this, but yeah, this is a lifesaver for us. I usually do 30 or 40 bags of leaves out of my yard a year, and having to just load them up in a truck and haul them off to the local park saves me stacking them up for weeks at a time waiting for time to have them picked up. Well, now I have a grass can starting next week. I can put those leaves in, I believe.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that, and you can put 10, next to your grass can, so you can really fill it up.
That's right. No, I think it's a great program. It really helps get that stuff picked up.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, to piggyback on what Commissioner Nelson was saying, I think the added week will also be a boon to the residents of the city of Meridian. Luckily, we got hit with cold weather right at the end of October, early time period now, so it should be able to get them all up, but it's just nice to see that there's an extra week so people have a little bit more time to get them out to the curb, either in their Republic Services provided grass cart or their leaf bags.
Additional comments or questions? Okay, I think we'll go ahead and move on to new business. And of course, we've hit that change of a quarter, as is obvious. So I wanted to go ahead and give an update on the Community Recycling Fund. Obviously, we'll discuss this a little bit more in some of the new business, but it's very pleasant news. At the start of this quarter, we had about $74,000 in the Community Recycling Fund. And we've been averaging over $2,000 a month for the last 3 months. And also, thank you to Public Works. Some of the additional money that comes out of the Public Works Expo, they donate to the community, and they made a donation to us of $750. All totaled, the fund increased by roughly $8,000, and so there's currently $82,000 in the Community Recycling Fund. Also, we've been reserving $1,250, $1,300 to cover the squishy water bottle project for the last year. And Public Works has magnanimously decided to go ahead and pay for that out of their budget. And so that's reversed out. So yes, we have $82,000 that's unencumbered. That's what the value of the CRF is at this particular point. And our thanks to Public Works for both the donation and for covering the squishy water bottle activity for this last year. So I'm going to just go ahead and, if you want to go ahead and add to that comment, okay. I'll segue into the next item under new business, which is the CRF program and what we may want to do. Let me mention something as we wrap up this. It will be our obligation, if we feel like our business for the year is done, it will be appropriate to make a motion to go ahead and cancel the November and the December meetings. But as we go through these next couple of items, as far as the Community Recycling Fund grant program, if we feel we need to go ahead and visit those on a timely basis, and we need to establish a meeting that's not the day before Thanksgiving or the Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's, we can establish an alternate date and meet in November and December, but we'll have to move and agree to that. So anyway, with that premise, I want to return to our conversation that we've been having about the CRF, and if there's a desire to open up a grant window of from the program, or if there are some commission-sponsored activities that we think might be more beneficial to the community and such. And with that, comments and questions are welcome at this time.
Chair, I have a quick question. Sorry, can't speak right now. Was everybody able to see the email that I sent out about the previous minutes that when you guys talked about the grant and the grant information? Okay, I just want to make sure everybody received that.
Commissioner Keating.
Just a comment about, before I got onto this, you guys had voted several grants that really helped the community with the small library, even the art, and like as you're driving through Meridian. And I think those are just a great opportunity for, people had an idea, we put it together, help purchase that idea, and it really helps the community out. And doing something like that again would be awesome.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. This would be directed to Sayard. Right now with the glass program, is the city covering all of that haul charge and the charge to actually take care of that glass to get it down to Momentum in Salt Lake? I know commodity prices have gone up and it's a little more expensive to do that. So I was just wondering, how is that currently covered?
Right now, there's a segment of the community cycle fund that we use, that we're able to use, that we cover it. So yeah, I think prices are going to go up, and we still need to figure out how we're going to cover that. So that's still up in the air right now.
So then, in regards to that, Mr. Chair, I would at least posit to the commission that we may want to take some of our large amount of funding to cover what is largely considered to be the most popular recycling program in the city right now, would be to cover that in full for glass recycling at the transfer station drop-off points. And I guess to add to that, also for the transportation of the material to the recycling center in Salt Lake City.
Conrad, would you approach the mic for a second? I want to go ahead and clarify some stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
So actually what I understand is the glass is taken free on board at the Meridian Transfer Station, and that Momentum actually takes it from there and delivers it to their facility. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can go ahead and elucidate that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Adi, thank you for this chance to speak on the topic. So originally the glass drop-off site was set up with the understanding it would be free to the public, and the arrangement with Momentum Recycling would be that when we had enough, which comes out to 120 yards of crushed glass or semi-crushed glass, that was enough to initiate a haul from Momentum out of Salt Lake City to come up and collect the glass and take it back to Salt Lake City to be recycled at Owens Corning and as a recycled product. That was before the state we're in now, where we're seeing inflation, increase in labor, increase in transportation costs. And we were approached by Momentum over the summer that that arrangement was no longer going to be viable for them. And they proposed to us that it cost $2,000, at least currently, to send a truck from Salt Lake to Boise or Meridian and collect the glass and then bring it back down to Salt Lake. All in, that's $2,000 for a haul. They proposed to us that we split that and cover $1,000 of the $2,000. Momentum would would cover their $1,000. We asked both City of Nampa and City of Meridian to then split the $1,000 cost on this end, to which I believe maybe it hasn't been. I thought it was already agreed upon, but the idea would be Republic Services would cover 500 of that 1,000 transportation cost. And then Meridian and Nampa would be assigned a proportion of the remaining 500, which came out to be a share of $400 to City of Meridian and $100 to City of Nampa per haul. And we're looking at 12 hauls per year currently. Yeah, who knows, it may continue to grow in popularity, definitely growing in population. But the way we're looking, we have a couple years of data to look at, and it averages 12 hauls per year. And that's not one a month. It's funny, it's like 1 month will be 0, and then there'll be 2 hauls the following month. But that's kind of the state we're looking at for glass recycling. Definitely one of the most popular. It was asked about the weight of plastic bottles. So bottle for bottle, I don't know which one comes out to be more popular, but for weight-based, certainly. Anything else?
Thank you. I definitely want to go ahead and kind of get the situation on the table for everyone. I'm sure that the $400 request never came before this commission. I don't know whether it has gone either to the Public Works Department or to council.
It's come to us, and we're still in the works on that. We haven't had, the director needs to okay it, and then it would go to council, so it's still within Public Works staff.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chair, sorry.
yes, Conrad.
I should also state that Momentum wanted to start that beginning October 22, so currently. I assume, I don't know, can't speak to it, but I believe until things are settled, Republic Services will bear the cost. But again, I'm saying that without really knowing.
You are a very brave man. Understood. And thank you for going ahead and giving that information. Commissioner Oddie, now I will turn the microphone back to you now that we've got a little bit more of the understanding going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to I'm not making a motion, just want to put this out to the remainder of the commission. If, given our surplus of more than $80,000 in the Community Recycle Fund, covering just our portion of it, of what is, of the $12,000 a year, it would only cost us for a single year, and again, this is a single year proposal, $10,800 to cover what I don't think the hauler should be covering in that disposal cost, since it is mostly, be it the 400 to 100 ratio, our program. So to me, it would make sense that we would take some of this excess funding to cover that program instead of putting the onus on the hauler who is allowing us to store glass at their site, allowing us to have a pickup site to not have to shoulder that cost, since we have disposal as a pass-through cost for just about everything else that we have.
And if I may, obviously, Public Works should probably take that understanding and as you finish your conversations about what may be going forward, take that understanding with you.
No, thank you. That was great to bring that up, because that's something to also consider, like what in general do you guys want to use this money for? I know it's not a fixed amount of money that we get each month, but yeah, that's simply something that would, I think, really help out.
Tom, did you say 10,000 for that year? Wouldn't it be like 4,800?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Keating, so there's 12 hauls a year at $1,000, which would be 12,000. And then I took out the portion that is Nampa's proportion of that, which would be $1,200, leaving us with $10,800.
Okay, that's how. Thank you.
Commissioners, additional questions on the Community Recycling Fund and whether we want to go ahead and do internal projects on things, or if we want to open a grant window, or anything in between.
Mr. Chair, I wished I had a project in mind, but I don't. But I think we discussed that we definitely don't want the money sitting here not working for the community. So I think it's fair that we open up that grant window, and we'd ask Sayer to get us some information, but so that we can kind of get caught back up on what constitutes a grant and what kind of the numbers were ranges and matching and those sorts of things. And so it seems like that warrants its own meeting, and and sit around a table with the paperwork for discussion. And I hate to say it out loud, but I think that warrants a special meeting maybe during the off season to discuss, maybe sooner than later in November, just so we can act on that. I'm trying not to volunteer for anything, but I sense a need for at least we get together.
Mr. Chair, to piggyback off of, oh wait, you didn't acknowledge me. To piggyback off of Commissioner Nelson, thank you. This seems like it might be the kind of consideration where we want to have a subcommittee to make recommendations to this commission on what would be a good grant to consider as a commission as a whole, to then make a recommendation to release that funding from council.
Audie, if you're volunteering to lead that, I would be second.
Well, let me go ahead and just mention a couple of mechanics of the activity. If there is a majority of the commission that is doing something, then it requires public notice. It becomes a public meeting and such. And so if we're going to do something off of a subcommittee, we'll go ahead and request volunteers and put them on the committee to go ahead and do some work. It would be something less than half of the members. If more than half of the members want to be involved in this, then we can certainly hold to steal a term, a working session, a committee of the whole in November or December to go ahead and either one of those options I'm very supportive of. Just mentioning that borderline, if it's as long as we've got less than half of the members, it can be a subcommittee doing the work. If it's going to be more than it, then we'll go to a whole meeting.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that I turn on the microphone somehow. Mr. Chair, I recommend that some commissioners form a subcommittee, have a meeting in November, and then we have a special meeting in December. They present what they came up with, and we decide then, and then we can move forward into 2023.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Audi.
I would recommend that the board form a 3-person committee to avoid any quorum issues, and then we take volunteers or voluntolds to make that committee and hold a November meeting for review of if there are any grant proposals to bring forward to the board.
I would volunteer with Sean.
Okay, may I go ahead and take what you just said as a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the committee make a 3-person subcommittee to evaluate grant proposals to use community recycle funds.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. I guess where we're at this point would be to review all the documents that were presented to give us our program for a grant program to be then brought before the commission in December.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is the motion I was proposing.
I thought that's what I heard.
And I second that one.
Mr. Neri, is there anything I'm missing on procedure?
Mr. Chair, no. I think having a subcommittee of three is adequate. I think you're fine.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to go ahead and form a subcommittee to go ahead and work up the grant program for us to consider at a December meeting. Is there further discussion amongst the commission on the motion? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor of forming a subcommittee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Now is definitely a time where I would love to know who would volunteer to go ahead and be on this committee. If you want to raise your hand, that'd be appreciated. Taryn and Sean and Tom. Without objection, I'll go ahead and identify those three members as the members of the committee, subcommittee. And I will leave it to you to go ahead and compare your calendars and find a time when you guys can meet either virtually or face-to-face. And you can identify a spokesperson or a chair as you see fit in your operation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner.
I would move that as a commission, we choose to pay for the glass recycling as stated earlier by Tom Oddie, the $10,800 fee out of the recycling fund.
If I may, at this particular point, are we getting ahead of Public Works on their discussion on this subject? Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Alex.
Oh, I would say not. If this is a discussion for you guys trying to figure out how you'd like to spend that money, we will support where you go on that. So I think that's a good use of it. You're not ahead of Public Works on this, so.
Conrad?
I would second the motion.
Thank you. I did hear your conversation in there, which, we're talking about, well, let's see, what did you say? It's 24,000 initially, which is split between Momentum and the Treasure Valley. And so that brings it down to the 12,000. And then I heard you mentioning that Republic may want to go ahead and put in some money on this cost?
That's correct, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Republic Services is willing to split the remaining 1,000 per haul with Nampa and City of Meridian. So that would be 6,000 a year anticipated that Republic would cover.
And so then splitting it 4-to-1 on this thing, that gets it down to the ask on this motion is estimated at $4,800.
Yes, it would be under 6,000, with 12 expected hauls.
Okay, so two motions are in order. One of them is to authorize a certain dollar amount not to exceed something like that, or to cover Meridian's portion of all this. Either one of those would be fine.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before we go too far, can we ask Public Services if they're opposed to footing the full bill? I didn't know if you had any internal incentives or funding that it was your desire to take that much of the expense, or if you're willing to let this fund help. I'm just making sure we're not messing up anybody else's finances by...
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Nelson, if I understand your question correctly, it's probably better answered by someone above my pay grade. My understanding was, in order to keep this recycle option free to the community and residents of Meridian, it would benefit everyone if the costs were shared, and we all had some skin in the game.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I agree that it makes sense that the community fund support it. It's kind of in our mission.
If I may kind of, once again, try to figure out the path forward, I think it works out well if we go ahead and identify what we're willing to go ahead and pony up on this. And then, so to speak, maybe defer to staff to go ahead and work with Republic to figure out what the portion Republic and the City of Meridian would go ahead and do. So I still see this as valid motion and a path forward. So we do have a motion and a second to go ahead and cover costs for glass recycling. Is there further comment on the motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just have the one comment, and this is speaking strictly from a person who utilizes the glass recycling to a very high level. To me, it seems that it would be, given the phenomenal partnership that Republic has had with the City of Meridian for many years, and just the vast amount of things they help with in the community, it would seem, at least from my perspective, that it would probably be more of a gesture of goodwill and would be a direct recycling benefit for the Community Recycle Fund to cover and not split that cost with Republic, at least for this first year, just as our commitment to that glass recycling, because we are the city that uses, I would venture a guess, about 80% of it based on the number Conrad gave us.
Okay, and I hate to be the one that goes into this kind of stuff, but just to make it clear, we don't actually have the authority to spend the Community Recycling Fund.
To make the recommendation to the council.
So two things. First off, I was blathering on before, that hasn't been done. The actual motion on the table is to spend up to $10,000. And second off, I think the appropriate phrasing is that we recommend to council that they consider and approve the use of up to $10,000 from the Community Recycling Fund to cover Meridian's portion of, am I on the right track?
10,800, and you are on the right track.
Okay, so that's the only adjustment, is we're just approving a recommendation to council to approve expense of up to $10,000 for covering costs for the glass recycling. And so with that, now we loop back. Are there further comments from the commission or motions?
Mr. Chair, one more comment. 10,800 was the number.
Thank you.
Correct.
Sensing the commission is ready for a vote. All those in favor of recommending to council consideration of authorization to spend up to $10,800 from the Community Recycling Fund to cover costs of shipping glass to Momentum, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Sayre, if you could go ahead and arrange for a time for that to be presented to City Council, I certainly would support when that is on the agenda and be there to talk to it.
I can do that, yeah. I'll let you know. The director is also watching too, so we'll talk with Republic Services. I know they sent us a proposal, so that's something that we need to discuss with them as well.
Thank you. So with that, now encumbrance, you still have $70,000 to go ahead and consider in your subcommittee as to how much should be set aside for community grants and how much should be set aside for SWAC projects and so on, all the other charges that we've given to you to update the programs. Next item is CRF outreach. And I do have some motion.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you.
I do have some movement on that subject because I started an outreach 4 to 6 weeks ago. And as it turns out, on Monday, I received invitations from the Arts Commission and the Senior Advisory Board to come talk to them. The Senior Advisory Board will meet tomorrow, and on Mark's behalf, I'll go ahead and discuss the Recycle a Bicycle program. Just in the email communications, there's been an indication that they are, it is the kind of thing that they like, and that they may be interested in volunteering to help get bicycles ready. But as we've discussed before, if there's some of them that want to get even more involved, maybe take the burden of coordinating the volunteers and, the days and other things, then I don't think we're opposed to that. And take a little bit, give Mark a little bit of help in this heavy lift. And also, then the Arts Commission has identified that we'll have an opportunity to discuss with them something on November 10th. This item, I need to get a little bit clearer direction from the commission as to what we're looking for. Obviously, the more crisp the presentation, the more easy it is for them to decide what they may be interested in. Our previous conversation has revolved around some kind of a art contest. Their emails to me have identified that indeed that works out best with the Meridian Arts Week on or about September 16th. SARD has presented to us something that's rather robust program, and that's certainly something that would be one end of what we could do. Another one maybe is putting our foot in the water to check the temperature by maybe hosting one category for the use of recycled material. But anyway, I'm not exactly sure what kind of commitment the commission's got at this particular point, and would very much appreciate comments from commissioners if they'd like me to present just a limited program or a more expansive program.
Chair, I'd just like to say that what Sayard had presented was phenomenal, and also that if we did something like that, like for the first year to start out on a smaller scale, just to get, a feel for how it would go, I think that might be something to look into.
Chair, I have a question. Are you talking about what I presented at the beginning of the year, or are you talking about, Joanna, when you guys were talking, your idea about working with the Arts Commission and doing something about reuse material?
We're talking about the material that you sent out 7 days ago that talked about a festival that was kind of a set aside for doing a number of uses of recycled materials and such.
Oh, that was from, Seattle. That might be a lot right now, because they have a huge, multiple day festival with a lot of artists. I did talk to the Arts Commission facilitator, and I guess the Point Gallery upstairs, that gets booked up in a year in advance. So things book up really fast. So I'm thinking, what the Art Commission needs from you guys is a concrete proposal of what you're interested in collaborating with, and then they can go from there and see if they can help out or not. But there's some opportunities, I think you talked about Art Week and stuff like that. But then also, looking for artists to help out and materials, which we could, probably talk to public service about materials. But I think that's what they're really looking for is what's your main idea and objective if you're interested in going down this route.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to make the record clear, I mean, it definitely has to be focused around a recycling of component. For some of the commissioners that maybe weren't here, like the art project that is at the curve as you enter into downtown Meridian, a portion of that was paid for with recycling funds. So it definitely is something this commission has engaged in collaboration with the Arts Commission. It's just fashioning it around the recycling component of that as well, and making sure that it kind of fits the charge of this commission, and then with the Arts Commission. So definitely a doable project. We just want to make sure we couch it correctly and promote it correctly.
And to go ahead and put that in words, what we've done in the past, one of them may be to go ahead and give an example of the use of recycled materials, or another one might be to encourage recycling. But we can do either of both, or both of those as the subject material, and certainly as the conversation has come out, I noticed that there's a portion of the Point Gallery upstairs where there's some posters that have been presented from students that have ribbons assigned to them, the subject being putting together an escape plan from your house during a fire or something. So certainly something could be put up there. Again, as we discussed, it could be handled over at the during Meridian Arts Week, various other things. But what I want to do is kind of convey your desires and, to the greatest extent, fleshed out program when we speak to the Arts Commission in a couple of weeks.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Oddie.
to add on to what Commissioner Richmond was saying, it would be my thought that we want to keep it a relatively simple program to perhaps concentrate on either recycling outreach, the correct way to recycle, or a way to increase the diversion rates that we're currently seeing. So instead of, I wouldn't necessarily broach to say you have to use recycled material, but to have it concentrate on the pieces of recycling that we want as a commission and a city want to emphasize and improve, either the quality of the recycled material that is getting put out to the curb, or a way to increase the amount of material that is diverted. So not necessarily advertising, but art projects that would push to those specific things would seem to have a pretty far-reaching benefit to the city and the residents within.
Additional comments?
Mr. Chair, art is a message. So we can tailor the message around using recycled materials or how to divert. As Commissioner Oddie was saying, I just think it needs to be simple art contest, and we can speak about what the contest means.
Mr. Chair, just to add on to my earlier comment, I think it was a direction from the commission with the prior art project down there on the curve that they did not have to use recycled material in the art project itself, because there was some real difficulty from a practical standpoint in doing that, but because there was some educational components, like Commissioner Oddie said, in regards to recycling and other types of education on that it certainly still fit the charge of this commission. So I agree that it doesn't have to use that necessarily to fit the direction.
So what I will summarize that I've heard is that we're interested in some kind of a judged category in some kind of a festival that they run, or separately at the Point Gallery or something, that would allow for us to have submissions from the community, of artwork along the subject matter of promoting either improving the quality of the recycled materials that we're getting or the quantity of recycled materials we're taking. Is there anything else that I need to be taking as a message on this?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, then is there a desire that we use funds to incentivize or some sort of cash sort of award to winners?
Actually, on this whole thing, it's been an initiation on our part to go to them to talk about this subject.
Okay.
So, yes, a conversation about then would we provide monetary awards for the artwork or trophies or ribbons or whatever else. Certainly, I think the conversation could easily go towards are we going to defer to them to judge the artwork, or are we going to judge the artwork? There's a lot of questions that are associated with this. Having gone into these discussions before, anything that you feel like I need to understand before I open this conversation would be appropriately discussed at this moment.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, I think, I mean, you're spot on with the questions you're asking, because I do think, like, for example, the fire education piece, the display now that's up in the gallery, again, that's a fire education program. It is judged by the fire department. So it works with the Arts Commission, but again, it is a program of the fire department. So I think that's maybe part of your conversation with the Arts Commission about partnering, but yet still this commission might be the driving force behind the selection or the recognition. I definitely want to check with our finance department. They maybe have a problem with giving cash prizes to people, so it may be some other type of acknowledgement, whether it's a trophy or a plaque or something like that. Definitely, I think we could find a way to recognize the performance. We just want to figure out how to do it properly.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So if we're going on recycling education, perhaps we could use the artwork in part of our outreach efforts and say, hey, and kind of promote that artwork and the artist that presented that in our outreach material.
Publicize.
A very good point. I believe there's probably some standard discussion about who acquires ownership of the artwork after the completion of the contest. And like I said, and certainly future conversation about even if we're essentially, well, I was going to say, compensating them for the cost of the materials used or whatever as an award or something like that. But I guess what I should do is kind of loop back around on this thing, mildly presuming what may be happening, then I would be in a position to report back on this conversation at the suggested December meeting as to whatever that happened in the conversation. So
Mr. Chair, so that's probably the one area where we could pay for the art because we're going to purchase it. To no surprise of anybody up here, we actually have an agreement for this. So we already have worked out what language the city needs to purchase the artwork and to reuse the artwork as necessary. So we can do that.
believe me, in my mind, this is a very open, fluid thing at this particular point, and I'm looking forward to the conversation in November. I know there's been a lot of discussion that we're supposed to present a concrete proposal, but I know I get a little bit, the hairs on the back of my neck get a little bit erect when we go ahead and have someone come in and tell us what we're supposed to do. So I will be sensitive to their authority.
Mr. Chair, also for the record, make note Commissioner Larson joined while the meeting was in progress. So.
Thank you. But again, if there's more thoughts of the commission, I want to go ahead and have any of your thoughts before I go before them in a couple of weeks.
Chair, just one thing that she mentioned is considering maybe paying the artist to create something too. So that might be something that would be an expense that you guys might want to think about coming out of the Community Recycle Fund.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner.
this question is for Mr. Neri. Mr. Neri, is there any sort of procurement process we'd have to go through if we were wanting to commission an artist to create artwork for the commission and using Community Recycle Fund funds?
Yes, there's a very minimal process, so really not procurement like through the procurement department, but really we have a contract. We have engaged, for example, for the different art murals around town. So we have agreements, we've done that. We've done those both through an RFP process and sometimes a direct outreach, because again, there's limited places you can put those. So we've done it both ways. So yeah, we definitely have a process in place that we could do that pretty simply.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Larson.
Thanks. Sorry for joining late and missing the earlier discussion. So I've heard the mention of commissioning an artist to produce something, and I guess in my mind, prior to this discussion today, I was thinking of this as more of an amateur art kind of contest for the community, something like the chalk art where anybody can participate and so forth, and I don't have a problem with awarding a ribbon or something to the winner, or acquiring the art for use in ours, but I didn't think of it as commissioning a more professional artist. Am I misunderstanding?
That did kind of come as a far extension of the conversation. I think that was put in context with the concept that Meridian may want to use the winner's artwork, and as a result of that, would want to acquire ownership of the art to be able to use it for our efforts. And certainly we may consider compensation to someone that was recognized as having succeeded in the contest. But I think there was a lot of conversation here at the commission to also consider going the next step, which might be to actually commission someone to go ahead and produce art. So I think that was just a request for some additional information around the conversation.
Thank you.
Additional comments? Thank you. And so the last item under new business is a squishy water bottle project for FY23. Are there any comments about that going forward?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go ahead and approve the renewal of that program. Recommend.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and recommend continuation of the squishy water bottle program and financing it.
Yes, sir.
First question to just a nod of the head, Conrad, do you think Republic is receptive to hosting that program for another year? Okay, I've got a nod of yes. So, and I guess none of us really have anything here. Shall I, that continued as it has been in the last 2 years, which is an authorization up to $1,300?
I believe that's the correct amount.
Okay. And I'm assuming that once again, we're talking about a recommendation to council for authorization to spend community recycling funds. Okay. So we've got that properly worded, that it's a recommendation to authorize the expense of up to $1,300 from the Community Recycling Fund to continue the squishy water bottle project with a due pass recommendation.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, we're not sure what the cost will be next year. Should we consider that?
I would keep it at what is it on the Community Recycle Fund form I sent you? Is it 220? Or at least maybe keep it at 2,000?
Well, the FY18 program went ahead and identified that, and again, this is, well, what we did before was that members of the community, when they went ahead and applied for a grant, had to go ahead and explain what their grant was going to be used for and make it clear to us that it could be completed within a particular fiscal year. And if it was under $5,000, then we were willing to finance the full project. If it was over $5,000, we'd only match half. That's all subject to review by the subcommittee, and they need to figure all that out. If it was a project sponsored by the commission, none of those things applied. The commission could go ahead and identify the money that they were going to use, though it did require an application. But again, us having to put together an application and do the reviews is something the committee is going to have to figure out at this particular point. I believe at this particular point, we're probably good with the recommendation to council to approve the expense. And by the time that gets on the agenda and gets approved, the mechanics of whether we're doing an application and everything else will be reported back to us from the subcommittee.
So I believe the question is, we'll recommend not to exceed 2,000.
Related, are we talking about squishy bottles or two different things here?
Squishy bottles.
Squishy bottle collection at transfer
This
station.
time.
I will second the amended motion to 2,000.
So the motion before us is to recommend to council for consideration the authorization of up to $2,000 from the Community Recycling Fund to go ahead and continue the squishy water bottle project with a due pass recommendation. Further comments from the members of the commission?
Well said.
Sensing the commission is ready for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to recommend to council for consideration, I'm going to shorten this to for continuing the squishy water bottle project, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. And yes, I am a parliamentarian in other areas, so, but I hope to be able to recover from that and rejoin normal society. That completes all of the items that are on our agenda. Though not on the agenda, there is the opportunity if there are, well, wait a second, I've got a couple of things, I got some major activities at this point. First off, it would be appropriate at this moment to go ahead and for the commission to vote to cancel the currently scheduled November meeting, which is the day before Thanksgiving, which by the time we meet at 4, usually City Hall has been closed. And also the December meeting, which would be the Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's. Is there discussion on that subject? Or motions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to present a motion to cancel our November 2022 and December 2022 normally scheduled solid waste meetings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and cancel the scheduled regular meetings of the Solid Waste Commission for November and December. Is there further discussion?
Chair, I have a question, more of a procedural question. My understanding was that we didn't have those scheduled. We just had set January to October. Am I wrong? Do we have to do the cancel, or has it already been?
I believe they are scheduled only because they're listed in the ordinances. We meet monthly.
Okay, I'll have to do, yeah, for some reason I thought it said 10 only months, but I'll review that.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm mistaken.
pull that up. But yeah, I'd go this route. Just
Yeah, no, I was just curious. Thanks.
This may be redundant, but regardless, sensing the commission is ready for a vote, we'll vote on canceling the regular scheduled meetings in November and December. All those in favor of canceling those meetings signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Now, it would be in order to go ahead and establish a special meeting for December at a time convenient for us. While it may be appropriate at the call of the chair, I think I would prefer to go ahead and have your advice. I'm not sure if Wednesdays at 4 are good. If they are, the Wednesdays in December are 7th, 14th, 21st. So, is there a discussion on a special meeting in December?
Mr. Chair, it would be my thought to have the subcommittee meet first and see if they can make a determination by that, and then suggest the special meeting, since we can notice that differently. Isn't that right, Bill? We only have to give it a week and a day?
Oh, it's not even that. Excuse me. It's not even that much time. I can't remember. I'll have to look, but it's not even that much. The only issue for the special meeting is if you don't pick a date now, then you're trying to coordinate all of that through email. Currently, the Parks Commission is scheduled for the second Tuesday, which is the 14th. So the 7th right now has no other meetings scheduled for City Hall for this room. So that might be one to at least set that date. You can always cancel it. If that's an available date for a quorum with this commission, it might be best to just set it down.
Mr. Chair, I would move we set our special meeting for December 7th at 4 p.m. in council chambers.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we have a special meeting on the 7th of December at 4 o'clock in council chambers. Further discussion? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote. All those in favor of having a special meeting on the 7th of December at 4 p.m. signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Thank you. And is there further comments for the good of the group at this point? If I misspoke, I am sorry about that. I think the motion was for 4 o'clock, and so it would be 4 o'clock. Further comments from the commission? Very good, then we'll go ahead and adjourn, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this, please join us. Well, Sayard, where would you like us to meet you for the photo?
Kind of thinking if we can meet maybe in front of that podium, that might, because how it was before, it was too wide. So I'm hoping if we can scrunch all in, I'll get a quick picture of you guys.
Meet down by the podium.
Meg will just Photoshop you in.
You can leave me out. Thanks, y'all. Sorry.